evening, chaps.
Hello, David. Well done. Welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing? Good. All right. Okay, we got the back. Thank you.
Got a plane from Los Angeles. Mike. On a plane.
Fantastic. How are you?
Thank you much.
Okay, that's all right. That one's done. This one's Lewis. L. I like that website. Cheers, mate.
Congratulations on your album.
Oh, thank you, mate. Glad you enjoyed it.
Tattoo?
Great. Keep your eyes on these, okay?
Roger, congratulations on your album. It's a masterpiece. Thank you.
So Roger. You sound like to Roger. Roger.
I am.
I'm sorry. Did we encroach?
Yeah, I'm afraid you did.
Encroach on your personal space, man.
Our first question is, why did you pick Houston as your only in-store appearance on this tour?
Actually, it was not so much a sort of choice of Houston. It was just that we were presented with the idea. We were skiing in Switzerland at the time, and the guys from the office came up with an idea. Would you like to do this? It'd be like everything's going nicely, and one of those things, you know. It's basically early on in the tour, Houston, great store, great place, you know, whatever. It's not the sort of thing you want to do every day because
It would drive you insane.
it would, yeah. And also, you know, we've got a really heavy schedule, and I think the only reason is that there's 3 days off here, and that gives us a chance to actually, you know, day before the show and everything else, do it properly. If you're going to do these things, rush in for 10 minutes and, you know, do the first 100 people and then rush out again. Everyone gets dissatisfied and whatever. But we had a chance to do it properly today, so I think that's the reason. Yeah.
I noticed also that you didn't slough it at all. You stayed above and beyond the call of duty. I mean, people were insisting, promoters, etc., that you leave, and you just stayed forever. And do you feel a
Well, I've
certain
been
loyalty?
waiting a long time, you know. I mean, whatever you do, you've got to do it right. You've got to do it properly, you know. You can't mess around with these things, really.
This place is unique as well. This particular store is the only store that does this in the style that they do it in the whole of the United States.
Have you ever seen a store this big? Of this type?
I couldn't see the store. There were too many people. I just saw walls of people, you know.
Along with the Everly Brothers, Box of Frogs, and the Fugs, Musician Magazine just named your band as one of the best reunions of 1984. Would you care to comment on that?
That's their problem.
It's nice of them.
How dare they?
That's a nice thing to say.
Well, I've always liked the Everly Brothers, so they were great. I think that it's a fairly shallow sort of question, really.
Well, okay. Have you seen Spinal Tap?
No, I haven't, no. No, but Iron Maiden told me all about it.
Have you seen Spinal Tap, Roger?
Yeah, I have.
What did you think of it?
Well, I didn't consider it an insult, if that's what you want. In fact, I laughed a lot. I think it was great. I saw a lot of...
He was at the premiere. Some amazing lump with Mike.
I was too, yeah. You heard
Absolutely, yeah. I met her.
I thought it was great.
Can you talk a little bit about the making of the video Perfect Strangers was filmed in Vermont?
Yeah, it was...
It wasn't actually made as specifically as a video. It's part of what we hope will eventually be a feature-length piece of video.
Documentary.
It won't be a documentary because it hasn't documented a great deal.
Not enough. But if they get that skiing footage in Switzerland,
be
it'll be great, yeah.
And we sort of didn't feel very sure about making a specific video, you know, like with a storyline and becoming actors, which we are not, as opposed to musicians, which we are.
And it's early days for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we had was some documentary footage, and when people wanted to see something that had been done, we put this together. And I say we. What do you mean we, white man? I mean we didn't put it together. Someone else put it together, and it fitted pretty well with Perfect Strangers.
From England, okay.
I think in the end, if we do, are you going to spend the next few years talking over me?
Yeah. I'm actually under you.
Because it was there.
No, really, we didn't know where we were going, and everyone wanted something on screen, right? And so cameras arrived and whatever. So it was fairly arbitrary from other people's points of view. They were just shooting bits and pieces, and they slung something together because there was a great demand for something to go on TV. And it's a sort of bits and pieces video, really. It's not worked out. Not worked out at all.
Is there or
Just
will
like
there?
everything else we do.
Sorry. Is there or will there be a video for Knocking at Your Back Door?
Well,
There's a rumour.
yeah, there's a rumor in Australia.
Yeah, I
that-
think they're trying to put something together that, again, is not us being something that we're not.
We're going to try and be like Duran Duran eventually, and do.
We're going to call it Deep Deep Purple Purple and
Yeah,
and go for it.
that's right. Yeah, and who's getting drowned?
Simon the Good.
Oh,
Simon
right.
Le Bon. That's
No,
right.
no, who's getting
Same
drowned
thing.
in our band?
In our band?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, no, lots of fighting and violence and sexual connotations and whiskey and cigarettes and that sort of thing, you know, which I think is what the public wants. You know?
Everyday life.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they need. I mean, that's really life as it is, you know.
You might have sussed out here that we don't know what the hell's going on with the video. We really don't.
Yeah. Apart
do with
from
us.
We will let you know in due course.
Drop you a postcard.
yeah. I mean, I'd like to expand on that, but I don't think it's, bearing in mind what you said about whiskey and cigarettes and everything else earlier on, I don't think it's a good idea. You got a light?
How much of the old material, like Smoke on the Water and Hush, will you be performing in concert tomorrow night or tonight?
Hush is just a bit too old, so we're not doing that. And he's just snapped his fingers. and whatever.
Have a good time, Michael. Bad day.
We're doing a good proportion of old material. There's sort of things that have become, I suppose, accepted as, loosely the word classics, if you like, in our absence over the last 11, 12 years. The legend of Purple, I suppose, has become greater than we actually were, and I think it's important to do the songs that we used to do and that people remember. Child in Time and Smoke on the Water and Highway Star and a lot of other stuff. It fits in very well with what we're doing now, and it's strange actually because the shows we've done so far in the United States, the newer songs have been recognised more readily than the older stuff because the audience is basically so young. So it's nice that they're recognising Perfect Strangers and Knocking at Back Door and Nobody's Home and that sort of thing. And we start doing Child in Time and maybe only 20 or 30% of the audience go, oh, I know that one, It's good. It is good. It's a great feeling.
Will there be any live videos from this tour?
Well, quite frankly, that's none of your damn business. I really think you've got to keep your nose out of our affairs, for the while. Anyway, until we find our feet, it's fair enough, isn't it? Oh, God.
No, it's called English humour.
Eh?
How does it
You
feel?
will, Joey.
Scottish humour, big
Thank you.
How does it feel to have influenced so many of today's metal bands and bands period?
Well, bands are mostly men, don't have many periods, so I think that the problem about influences from today's groups are sort of non-existent, really. Yeah, I mean, God, it's become a problem. It has become a problem because there's very little in the way of colour, and the spectrum of music has disappeared. Everyone's gone to this way and that way and whatever, and there's very little room for eccentrics in rock music, very little room for outside influences to be drawn in these days and everything else. You'll find everyone is either sort of American-style rock and roll or English-style heavy metal, play at 1,000 miles an hour, dress up in funny clothes and all that sort of thing. And I think that rock music is really in a pretty narrow area at the moment, and it would be nice to see some colour, some texture, some dynamism, some humour, and that sort of thing. There are some great bands around, absolutely great, but unfortunately they're suffering through the plethora of mediocrity.
Will there,
Word, that.
good answer. Will this be a 1 LP reunion, or will there be more?
Oh, it's forever. In rock and roll terms, we've just got to give it 18
Next
months.
Tuesday.